Have you ever heard the term fetal station being used by the professionals around you? Maybe even while you were in labor, but you didn't know what the heck they were talking about. Well, you're not alone. Most moms, or many I should say, they don't know what this means because it seems like it's one of those things that OBs and hospital staff, they don't really explain. Even though they're using that word in your presence very often around a vaginal exam. But if you want to know what is going on in your own birth process and you want to learn the language that is being used around you, stick around because in this video, I am going to be explaining what fetal station is, and I'm going to give you a visual of what that looks like as well. And then we're also going to talk about under what circumstances is it a good idea or is it a good thing to know what baby station is? What role does station play in relation to effacement and dilation? Which one of these is the greatest factor in determining labor progress? Or are they all equally the same? And if they are, why do we not hear about all of them the same much? Simply put, fetal station is how low the baby's head is in mom's pelvis. And it is measured by comparing the position of baby's head or presenting part, if that's not the head, to the location of the ischial spines of mom's pelvis. That was a mouthful, but let me show you what that looks like. So here I have a model of a female pelvis, and as you can see, these protrusions right here are the ischial spines. And I'll show you from this angle, these protrusions are the ischial spines. They're about mid-pelvis, so right here, I'm touching both of them. Let me turn it so you can see from that side as well. Here I'd be touching both of them. So if the baby's head is level with these ischial spines, that's considered zero station, and that is considered fully engaged. So there's a couple of methods used to measure station, either -5 to +5 or -3 to +3. I also want to add, some people say negative instead of minus, but it's the same thing. And so anything that is a minus station is still above these ischial spines. So baby is still above that. And anything that is a plus station is below these ischial spines. The baby's head has moved past the ischial spines and is coming down further. And so when you're at like a +4 or 5, if you're using the 5 to 5, then baby is like crowning and about to be born. If it's a -5, this is like not engaged at all yet. And it might even be referred to sometimes as floating. So the question is it really helpful to know these numbers, and how much insight do they actually provide on labor progress? So on one hand, I think station should be talked about more than it is, because dilation usually is the star of the show. Everybody knows about dilation, but not so many people know about station. And while all of these factors typically progress in conjunction with each other, for example, you could be near to fully dilated, but baby still at a relatively high station. And in a case like that, birth might not be as close as you think it is, based only on how far you're dilated. So in cases like that, things like positioning and movement can be super helpful to help labor baby down and help them rotate and navigate through the shape of the pelvis. And you can check out my video on cardinal movements to see what that looks like. So as an example of the impact that station can have versus looking only at dilation, there's a fascinating French study that came out that found if women rest at full dilation for up to 3 hours, and of course not all do, or not even all can, because they would have an uncontrollable urge to push before 3 hours, right? But if they rest up to 3 hours, instead of immediately pushing when they get to 10 centimeters, the result was an average pushing time of only 14 minutes for first-time moms. That is wild. And it was only 6 minutes of pushing for second babies. So, while you might be 10 centimeters dilated, your baby's station might still be fairly high. And then the lower your baby moves down, the stronger your natural urge to push becomes. And then the more effective your pushing will be, because you can work with that urge and with your body. If you want to learn more about effective and safe pushing, smart pushing, I will link that video in the description as well. And I'm going to link this study that I just referred to, as well as all the other studies I'm going to mention in this video. And I also want you to know that I have an entire free research page on my website. There's over 150 links to studies and articles, all on the topics of pregnancy, birth, and I'll leave that link in the description as well for you to check out. So station can also be helpful to know if you're considering interventions such as artificial rupture of membranes or induction. Station is one of the 5 factors that is taken into account when talking about the Bishop score, which is a system that assesses how likely an induction would be successful in your case. Obviously, a higher station, if baby is still up higher, then it will result in a lower score or a lower likelihood of that induction being successful. And even if you do get induced, it might make labor take a little bit longer because baby is still so high. So that's definitely one situation where it's good to know what baby's fetal station is. Another study showed that an unengaged baby, and remember that a baby that is considered fully engaged is level with ischial spines, is about mid-pelvis. But it was found that an unengaged baby, so with a higher station than 0, was associated with a higher risk of cord prolapse when water is broken artificially. So cord prolapse is when the umbilical cord drops down under baby's head or presenting part, if it's not the head, and the cord starts to come out before the baby does. And so there have been births where this didn't cause adverse outcomes, but it is something that no provider ever wants, they don't like to see that happening. It is considered a real emergency. It's typically managed by calling for an emergency C-section. So again, if you are considering having your water broken artificially, that would be a good time to know what baby station is. At the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves if any vaginal exams for any reason are really beneficial. Whether that's to find out how far you're dilated, effacement, station, whatever the case may be, but how much do they actually tell us? And how accurate are they in actually gauging labor progress or how long you're still going to be in labor for? If we put too much weight on these numbers, I believe that it really adds to the mental game of labor, and it can add pressure to perform, feel like you're just on a clock. It can even sometimes serve to discourage you because the focus is more on just numbers rather than the fact that things can change very quickly. If you want to learn more about the pros and cons of vaginal exams for any reason, watch this next video on the screen and be sure to check out all of the links in the description for the studies that I cited in this video, as well as the free research page on my website. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.